Gentlemen and ladies, it is Tuesday night. Welcome to the Tuesday Night Live stream. I'm your host, as always, Chris Q. Murphy, and I'm here to spend a fabulous evening with you. I hope it's been a fine week so far, as short as may have been. It's only going to get longer from here, folks. But we're going to have a great Tuesday. Get yourself a glass of something. Settle in. Be prepared for a fantastic presentation of songs and talking about songs and songs and songs and more songs. I'm going to go ahead and start off with a couple of my songs, as is tradition at this point. For those who have been following along and have been tuning in every week, this is one that I've been trying out little by little over the last couple of weeks, part of the February album writing month songs that I put together all about my time in Princeton, New Jersey. And here I am doing a song called, I don't know what the fuck it's called. I think it's called The First Day of Spring. But it goes something like this. A finger, nope, that's not right at all. A finger, nope. There's no mention of a finger anywhere in this fucking song. A finger? A breakfast nook and vinyl, a flimsy plywood bench, L-shaped but left unpainted by the former tenants. Looks out the window or absolutely nothing. And there's a half-drunk bottle filled with half-cheap blended scotch. Brothers making up war stories, exciting stacks and counting shots, until they remember absolutely nothing. Nothing. Oh, we swear those days were glorious, golden hours of diamond kings, and the songs and joys uproarious, and every day was the first day of spring. First day of spring. Over by the newspaper kiosk, behind the laundromat cafe, an oblivious ice cream magician sprinkles joy on salad days, goes through the motions but feels absolutely nothing. Nothing. But we swear those days were glorious, golden hours of diamond kings, and the songs and joys uproarious, and every day was the first day of spring. First day of spring. Break the alternation between shadow and light, and there's very little space left to run. Yet you'll never feel stuck or half out of your mind. You'll always be chasing the sun. Always be chasing the sun. And there's a tender moment after twilight, before dreams. Only then can memory beckon and make splinters out of seams. Somehow both real and absolutely nothing. Nothing. But we swear those days were glorious, golden hours of diamond king, and the songs and joys uproarious, and every day the first day of spring. First day of spring. All right, there's the first day of spring coming at you. And for many, it might have felt that way today after we had that false spring a few weeks ago, and then last week got all fucking rainy and cold again. Fuck that noise. Oh, I'll tell you what, I needed today's spring weather. Yesterday was a piece of shit, and today was only like a medium-sized turd. So I'm feeling a little better about today. First day of spring feels about right now. I'm also feeling good because as we get closer to spring, as a handful of people get more vaccinated and as we start to learn a little bit more about how to live safely in the current reality, outdoor gigs are starting to happen again. And for those of us that are performers, it feels like a little bit of a return to what we love most. I've already played one outdoor gig this spring, and I have like 3 more on tap that feel like they're going to be safe and a really great time. And it makes things feel just a little better at the moment. But all of those things that have happened have, of course, happened on my own steam or the people in my band's steam. We've put these things together for ourselves because I've learned from many, many great New York friendsicians that if you want to make something happen, you got to make that shit happen yourself. Nobody's going to invite you to anything, regardless of how good you were the last time they saw you, how much they say they're your best friend. Like, you make something happen, and then maybe, just maybe, people that you invite to your thing will let you come to their thing when their thing happens. And really, that's what this show is about. That's what playing music in New York City for 99% of the musicians here is about. And that's something that I certainly learned from tonight's guest, who we'll get to in a couple of minutes. For years, she ran a show at the Way Station called the Tripeg Lobo series, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit more about later. Just a quick note for those of you who are like, the Way Station, what the fuck is that? Well, for those of you that don't know anything about live music in New York City, but do care about things like science fiction and nerd culture, you might have at some point heard that there was a bar in Brooklyn that had an actual fucking TARDIS in it, and it was the bathroom. That was the Way Station. And sadly, I just said that was the Way Station because, like so many fantastic businesses in New York City, as a result of COVID and all sorts of other things, Way Station has had to shutter its doors, leaving a whole lot of sci-fi fans, a whole lot of Prospect Heights locals, and a whole lot of musicians feeling like they have one less place to hang out and feel good about who they are and what they do. So thank you for all the years that Andy Heidel put into the Way Station and provided a space for nerds and musicians and people that were somehow both. And like I said, he played host. Well, he provided the space for our host to host the Tripeg Lobo series, which was a really fun package night where a group of performers would be gathered around one theme, and then for a couple of hours, they would come up one at a time, and they would play 2 songs each around that theme. One of the themes, and it was usually like a song that you wrote and a song that somebody else had written. I remember one of them was the My First Record one, where you had to show up and play a song off the first album that you ever bought for yourself and then do a song about that album. And I remember in terrible, terrible taste, me and my childhood best friend dressing up like Run DMC and doing You Be Illin' off of Raising Hell, because that is legit the first album I ever bought with my own money. There was the picture show where you had to find a random old photo or postcard and write a song that was somehow informed by that postcard. I don't remember what the second song challenge was for that show, but I remember my wife and I wrote a song that I very rarely play live, and I should play more, based on an old photo we found. But the one that kind of made me dig deepest and maybe do my hardest work was the Songs of History show, where you had to show up and perform a song written by somebody else, be it a folk song or a composed song about some historical event. And you also had to write a song about a historical event, which is something that I'm not really prone to do. But I remember getting ready for the show, I decided to finally work up this song called The Wreck of the Dandenong, which I had learned off a Bruce Molsky record. And it was about like an Australian shipwreck from the 1890s. There's only like 3 fucking versions out there on Spotify. The Wreck of the Dandenong. It's a great tune. And I said, well, I'm going to go ahead and make a point of learning this song for the show. And I did. And I sang it a cappella, and it was fucking terrifying. And I almost stayed in the same key for the whole thing. In terms of the song I wrote that night, I was coming hot off the heels of grad school. And rather than just writing a history song, I decided to take it a step further back meta out and write a historiography song. I was also in the middle of playing a lot of kind of folkier shows, both at the Way Station and around New York City. So the idea of writing a true folk talking blues seemed incredibly appropriate. And I said, well, I'm going to be playing at Nerd Central, the Way Station. And I call myself a songwriter in the folk world, but I don't have a talking blues. And I have to write a song about history, but I don't know a lot about history of many things. But I do know a little bit about one thing in particular. And I went ahead and wrote the following song, which tonight's guest has requested that I play. I've tried it on the show once or twice before, and I don't always do great with the lyrics because there's a fucking lot of them, which is the very nature of a talking blues and the subject about which these blues are written. So I'm going to try my best to get through it. I'm going to cross my fingers. If you really love this song, you can go out into the world and download it somewhere on the internet. There's even a music video for it out there somewhere. But wish me luck as I settle into singing this one. Here we go. Let's see. Here it is. The Talking Middle Earth Historiography Blues. Here we go. Now, back before they split or reconnected Berlin, Mr. Tolkien picked up his pen and wrote what some say was the greatest story ever written. Yeah, there were elves and dwarves and magic rings and talking trees and other wild things, even inspired Led Zeppelin to pen some tunes about it. And then Peter Jackson filmed that tale. That shit was epic. But some say epic fail because he left out some key players from the plot. Yeah, I get it. Those movies were already long, so I guess I'll just have to make up this song that covers the characters Pete ignored, fucked up, or forgot. See, I'm a dork. And I care about this shit, and I've got a guitar and an audience. So here we go. Now, back when Aragorn was just a little guy, this elf named Arwen caught his eye. She was kind of like the Lois Lane to his Clark Kent. Now, I don't mean to come off glib, and I'm usually all for women's lib, but in this case, that's just not how the story went. Now, I know Liv Tyler cost a lot, but half her shit's some made-up plot, or stuff that was really done by Glorfindel. Yeah, maybe it was some box office ploy or the producer was trying to sell more toys in hopes that we hadn't actually read the books for ourselves. Yeah, she and Orlando Bloom might be nice to look at, but they can't act their way out of a paper bag. So I'm done with them. Here we go. This here is the long verse. Long before Lou the Internubial shook her immortal coil, and the Dark One made man and elf blood boil, Tom Bombadil and his wife Goldberry lived just south of the Barrow Down. Yeah, he called himself a merry fellow with his bright blue jacket and boots yellow, singing songs in the third person with powers of great renown. Now some say he was the spirit of nature, elvish master of entish nomenclature, or even God himself, no more than 5 feet tall. But while that's left even the most erudite scholars guess, and old Pete Jackson was trying to teach us a lesson by not including him in any of his films at all. Now, the time the Hobbit spent there wasn't that thrilling, but Tolkien, he's a real master of world building, and the time they spent with the eldest, that's Tom, that's what makes him great. But Pete Jackson, he didn't think he was important, and when asked about it, he just sort of shrugged his shoulders and said, haters gonna hate. That's a cop-out. I'd call bullshit. And he couldn't even handle old Tom in the first place. So here we go. That's not all bad. To be fair, Pete made the Ents badass. Like that time they all woke up in a mast on Saruman's doorstep, told him to take a hike. And then Grima flipped and sneak attack, and he stabbed the White Wizard in his back, who fell down and got impaled on a big old iron spike. Well, he didn't really die that way. Gandalf just took his keys away. He was shut out of Orthanc forevermore to roam. And it turns out that he was Shire-bound. He burnt that shit and enslaved the town, at least until Pippin, Merry, Sam, and Frodo got home. But Pete said that was anti-climactic, and not cinematic. But I just call it ignorant Hollywood pandering, and here we go. Now, I've seen those movies straight on through, even all the special features too, on Blu-ray streaming and HD DVD. And I'll kiss every special effects man tiny for making the orc so scary, little glory and so shiny. Without the aforementioned changes, the best grade I can give Pete Jackson is a C. Now, I know books and films ain't the same, and I could spend all night playing this game with each verse deeper into dork and bound to delve. So despite my shireful protest singing, these books will be a part of my kids' upbringing, at least till they're old enough to read the books for themselves. Speaking of which, if you haven't done so, get yourself down to your local bookstore and buy yourself a copy. They read as fast as hell. But beware those clever marketing stunts and don't buy the copy with Elijah Wood in this front, because old Pete Jackson might have changed what's in there as well. Guess you can't trust no one these days. And I ain't selling what he's buying, and he ain't even worth trying. So that's all I got for the Talking Middle Earth Historiography Blues. Woo! It's a lot of damn words. It's a lot of damn words. Now, if you like that song, you can go and find it on my Bandcamp page. It's out there somewhere. Maybe I'll share the video link later on, but if you head over to chrisqmurphy.bandcamp.com, you can check out our song, music video, what have you. Ooh, I'm going to put the guitar down for a minute. I'll move on a little bit. Now, I do want to mention that while this show is obviously free of charge, it's on the internet, I do expect that slipped. I do accept donations in order to offset the small costs that I spend doing this show. Excuse me. If you'd like to send some money my direction, you can do that via Venmo. I'll leave the little thing scrolling at the bottom just there for a minute. And 2/3 of anything you send goes directly to my guests. Some weeks that's a little bit of money, and some weeks that's a little bit of money. And the other third I just keep to make sure that my streaming platform is running and paid for, and this show can look and sound as good as possible. So here we are. Speaking of the guests that will get 2/3 of those proceeds, it's time that we brought her on. Now, like I said, she was quite the impresario, hosting the Tripeg Lobo show for a couple of years at the Way Station, really supporting not only me, but other artists that I kind of shoved in her direction, said, hey, put them on the show. They're pretty cool. And she was always willing to give them a try. She kind of left the Way Station door open for so many of us to continue playing there in other ways. We've played a handful of shows together on top of that because she's a fantastic singer and songwriter in her own right, somebody who brings something incredibly unique to every situation that she's in. She creates a world with her songs that I have seen very few other songwriters even like touch. It's something that I've only seen her do. And whether you love that thing or hate that thing, and I don't think you're going to hate that thing, it's really special when you come across an artist that does something that is truly their own. There are so many mediocre singer-songwriters in this city, in this world, douchebags with guitars, and when you come across somebody that is doing something different while under the singer-songwriter banner, it's really, really exciting. And I'm excited to reconnect with this person and have her come on tonight. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, welcome Elisa Flynn to the show. Elisa, how you doing? Let me turn. Oh, wait, there you go. I can hear it. Wait. Something.
What? Oh,
there we go. Now I can hear you.
Okay.
Sorry, that was on me. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. Thank you for that incredibly kind introduction.
An incredibly true introduction. I think I've come up with some pretty weird descriptions for your tunes in the past, but I'm just going to leave them by the wayside and let people decide for themselves tonight. So where are you coming at us from right now? Are you currently in Brooklyn? Are you somewhere else? What's the story?
I am in Brooklyn. I'm in my very tiny apartment in Brooklyn, where I have been a lot for the last year, as everyone has.
Fair enough. Yeah.
I'm in Crown Heights, and I'm on a corner, sort of on the back of a corner of a very busy street. So I hope it's not that we don't get any breakthrough sound. Sometimes we do. Yeah.
That's part of it. Part of it.
It's part of the joy of
It
music.
is.
Yeah, and all the stuff about the way station, it's bringing back the memories. Like that was 5 years actually that we did those shows.
Wow.
5 years, 2012 to 2017, exactly. I think
Look,
September to September.
we have people in the comments remembering said Tripeg Lobo shows. Wait, check it out. We have more.
Oh, sweet.
I know, right? Fucking A. It's so exciting to see these people come through. Yes, truly awesome. Truly, what a great series. What a really great time playing those shows. Such a diverse community of musicians. Some of which that I've definitely stayed connected with and kind of explored other avenues of the music world with. Your shows were the first time that I ever connected with Adam Matlock, who I wound up connecting with kind of on another scene later, and we're still pretty chatty in the world of social media.
That's cool.
My cassette label put out a split of improvised piano music that he did a couple of years ago, and that's all you know.
Yeah.
I brought my friend Jim Nabel back from not performing a whole lot, and now he's starting to put out records again, which is exciting. And again, you made that space for us, so thank you. It was awesome.
It was so much fun, and I've been thinking about the possibility of doing another sort of version of that in the future. I don't know how or where, but my goal was always to make it the most punk rock of shows, in that, not that it was punk rock music, but that it was open to everybody. And there were shows where they played their first show at those shows.
Really?
Yeah.
That's incredible.
Yeah, there was all kinds of crazy stuff went on. And the thing that I never forget about it, and I'm sure you agree too, is like at every show, I laughed so hard.
Oh, yeah.
It was so much fun. We doubled over like crying with laughter.
Oh, yeah.
It's so fun.
But, a lot of people were going for the laugh. I know that was always my move. But, we also had, you doing, Sufjan Stevens covers. and totally tearing the fucking room's soul apart. It wasn't just laughter. That sometimes sounds cheap. I would hate for people to think that it was. It was a lot of fun.
It was because it was fun. It was so much fun because I wanted it to be a really fun and inclusive atmosphere. I'm so sick. One of the reasons I started was I was so sick of everybody's I'm such a serious musician. Fuck yourself. Come on.
There you go. Fuck yourself. Yeah, I have very little time for serious musicians. I mean, that's one of the things that has kept me always feeling a little more punk than is maybe even for my own good sometimes. Despite whatever kind of music I was playing, that punk ethos of are you really taking this shit that seriously? I don't care how much you're getting paid tonight. Fucking have a good time. That idea of it being for me and for us and for the vibe, you definitely capture that. And I love that you referred to it as punk without being punk music. The Minutemen are the most punk band that ever was, maybe. And they don't sound quite like any other punk band that most people have ever heard. So
right.
I'll go for that. So we know each other primarily as performers and as an extension of that as writers. But I know that so many writers and performers have really struggled because performing hasn't been that much of an option for the last year for obvious reasons. Now, I know that some songwriters rely on the performances to fuel their production of new material. I know a lot of songwriters depend on performances in order to road test material as they prepare to make another album or what have you. Both of those options were robbed from us by and large for the last year and a half. And I was wondering, how has that looked for you as a performer that has not been able to perform in the traditional sense for the last little while?
It's been pretty awful, actually. At first it was just shocking. Like, I played my last live shows last January of 2020. And then I went out of town to do a freelance job for 2 months, and then I came back on March 13th. Yeah, ended on March 15th. And it, at first it was like, well, I'm going to take this time and I'm going to write so much. I'm going to do so much. I'm going to learn. And at first I was pretty okay with that, with the whole creative thing. I came across this project that a friend of mine had just participated in called the Weekly EP, which is a podcast. And this guy was having people write, record, and mix an EP in 7 days. And I can do that. I have nothing else to do.
Whoa.
So
that's awesome.
It was really a fun project, and you really, it's on the honor system, but you're like, I'm going to do this. So, like the night before the 7 days started, I started writing out a list of what would I had to give myself like a real, delineated way to do a project like that. So I had been listening to The Cure for the first time in a long time. So I decided I was going to base the album on, or the EP on, things that were done in 1983. So like Pornography by The Cure, The Hunger, the movie, and then the side album that Steve Severin and Robert Smith made called The Glove, also in 1983. Have you ever heard that? You've never heard that?
No, I don't know shit about that.
The Glove is fantastic.
I'm going to take a note while you're talking if you don't mind.
Yeah. It was their psychedelic side project. And Robert Smith was contractually obligated that he could not sing on anything else. So he doesn't sing any of the songs, although he wrote all the words. They got this woman who I think was a model who wound up having this weird, cool voice. She sang all the songs. And I think later he did another version of the album, re-singing the songs himself. But that was all sort of psychedelic, and it was based on The Glove, in the Beatles animated.
Oh. The Glove from Elisa Flynn. Oh my God.
So that's what that is. So I took those things and I started furiously writing songs based on those three things. So I had 4 songs on the EP, and and I tried to just let myself be as open as I could. And I didn't really write anything primarily on guitar, which is completely different because I always write everything primarily on guitar. So I have like some keyboards and stuff, and did lots of, loops and stuff. And I wrote these songs and sort of cobbled them together and did it. And that was super fun. And that, by the way, can be purchased on my Bandcamp, Elisa Flynn.
Do you mean this one?
Why, yes. Indeed. That along with all my other recorded material. And that was sort of like, that was the big project I did last year. And then little by little, I kind of sort of drifted off. I was playing with a band for a while. And that I did that for a few months, but it didn't work out. So then I wasn't in the band anymore. And I kind of just sort of had this weird wall with playing and singing. And I sort of didn't for a while. I was doing a lot of drawing. But the not having shows and the not having projects, like I'm doing 3 shows next month, so I have to write at least 1 new song, or I'm doing a theme show. Without that, it got really, really hard for me. And I've only in the last couple of months been really getting back into feeling normal about playing and singing and stuff. But it's really hard not to perform. I felt completely freakish about it.
Yeah, I feel you too. I mean, that's why I started doing this. Because I wanted to do something that felt normal. Last week's guest, Bex Artana, talked a little bit about this idea that when the pandemic hit, suddenly we were all supposed to learn how to do a million things and record 16 albums, and how that pressure was kind of bullshit. But I agree with, But I'm really blown away at the fact that you were able to dive in and actually get something done right from the jump. Because between the months of March 2020 and December 2020, I wrote a total of one new song, which for me is pretty slow. I don't write a million good songs every year, but I write a lot of songs. That's what I do. And I could only bring myself to produce one new thing. I did a lot of editing, and I did a lot of like taking stuff off the wood pile and seeing if I could do anything with it. And I did a lot of things like Back from the Dead, or I really was able to complete or kind of shine up some things. But in terms of strictly new material, like I feel you. I found it incredibly hard to do anything. I felt like if I wrote about anything that wasn't serious and topical, I felt remiss. And I'm just not good at writing about serious topical shit. It's not my wheelhouse. I can't do it. So I feel you, but I'm so excited that you got something done. Are you going to play some of those songs for us tonight, even though you didn't write them on guitar?
There is one that I'm going to try to play.
Okay.
It's a keyboard song, but I'm going to play it on guitar, and I've been playing it the last couple of weeks, and I'm like, I don't know, but I'm going to play. But I very much like your attitude to the way you were like, well, I'm going to play the song that I've been trying to play for the last 3 weeks or whatever.
Yeah.
That is, that's right up my alley. That's another thing about going back to the shows and just going back to the way I am. It's just like, it doesn't have to be perfect. And I've watched so many of my favorite performers, dispel the perfect myth for me, and I've been like, wow, yeah, like, I love Mark Eitzel. Do you know Mark Eitzel?
Yeah.
I have seen Mark Eitzel play some really bad stuff. And I've seen him play a song and he's like, oh, that was terrible. And it was genius, and he'll say that on the stage. It's just amazing. Oh, no one likes this song. But
I've seen him play one time,
and
he did a Carole King song. I can tell you that story some other time about like why I saw him play one song one time. Different story, different day. But sorry, continue. You gonna play some stuff first? Yeah. So what I'm gonna do and what I'd like to do is get out of the way, because I can do that thing on the screen via this platform. I want to make sure that your info is up there, which it is, and I want to make sure that if people fall in love with what you're doing while you're doing it, they know all the places to follow you on the online. So I'm going to leave that up there too. If you're tuning in just now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the Tuesday night live stream. I'm your host, Chris Q. Murphy, and tonight's special guest is Elisa Flynn, who is going to go ahead and play a couple songs for us. Let's call it 2, and then I'll come back. So everybody enjoy Elisa, and Elisa enjoy everybody.
All right. This song is from the EP I did before the pandemic. I put it out in November 2019. It was called Maelstrom, and this song's called White Dress. I'm not gonna wear a white dress for you. I won't be your fragile princess. I won't change your hair on my head to please you, or one word from my fucking mouth. My heart beats too hard. My breathing is ragged. When I think you've pulled me astray, I get so twisted round from my own mind. When you get your way, when you have your way with me, I won't be here when you come to find me. I won't be your precious baby. I'm running forever away from this confinement. I'm heading, it's magic, I run free. And then, so magic. This next song, I'm going to take the challenge, Chris. This song is called Magic, and this is off that EP I did in 7 days called 1983, or 83 is the name of the EP. And this song is all on synthesizer, but somehow I'm going to play it on guitar. Stay with me until time is over. Be with me till darkness covers us over. It's magic. Your love is magic. Everything you touch turns into flowers. You feed the earth, you pull up all of the flowers. Your heart is magic. Run with me, 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 run with me. Oh, well. That's a bad way to end that song. Okay, Chris.
All right, I can come back. You could have kept going.
There was something else going on there, and I was like, well.
That was awesome.
It's also so hard to sing that. I can sometimes sing that high part, and sometimes I can't, but I was like, I'm just going to go for it.
Yeah, it sounded good to me.
I tried singing it low earlier, and it didn't work.
We're going to talk about that in a minute. But first, just to give people some context, I did want them to be able to hear, like, when you say this song was written with synthesizers and stuff, like the song that Elisa just sang, guys, we'll just get a little taste of it right now. This is how the original version on the album sound, or the EP.
Stay with me until time is over. Be with me as darkness covers the summer.
Yeah, I mean,
that's even got amplified thumb piano in it.
yeah, wow, is that what it is? I don't know if that was like a synth patch or an actual kalimba. That's really cool. And it's so interesting to hear that guitar, rhythm you were playing was originally played by the drum machine, and that's such a completely different vibe than doing it on the guitar. And I didn't mean for this to happen, but this kind of segues perfectly into something that I wanted to ask you about. You're pulling from a lot of places, but the two places that I hear that are most evident in your songwriting are that kind of like post-punky introspection thing. You mentioned The Cure before. I have to say, on the new EP, with the kind of electronic drum beats, the reverb, and the fact that as far as women's voices go, yours tends to be on the lower side. Like, some Joy Division comparisons are going to be kind of inevitable. Like, I hope you're not offended by the comparison.
Not offended by the comparison.
You're also, like, it's a dramatic vocal delivery. It's not like full-on Ian Curtis here. But there's a little bit of that dramatic intensity that's in there. So that's one thing that's going on in your music and is always evident in your music. The ability and the want to explore the things that are more morose, the darker, the sometimes supernatural. But you also have a pretty serious, like, folk bent where like you borrow a lot from the folk tradition. And it's interesting because when I hear that song with the extra reverb and the drum machine, I'm like, oh, post-punk kind of theatery music. Awesome. And then I hear you playing chung jigga jigga chung jigga jigga on the guitar. I'm like, oh, folky songwriter. Cool. They both work. So as a writer, how do you kind of balance those seemingly diametrically opposed things? And or how do you know when to draw from which thing in your process?
I don't know if I know when to draw. I mean, I just do it as it feels right to me. I've had sort of a big electronic music journey in the past few years. I didn't used to like it, and then all of a sudden I started loving it.
Same, by the way.
Yeah. And it opened up so much for me. I can't believe I didn't listen to this stuff before. I'm like, what was I thinking? Sometimes I get so into the electronic idea that I don't even want to pick up a guitar, but I always go back to it. And what I was trying to do sort of at the end before the pandemic was to combine the two things in live performance. So the last few live shows, maybe the last 4 or 5 live shows I did, I used a sampler and little drum machine and guitars and lots of effects. And I try to combine those. I even did some songs where I just stood there and sang over the sampler, playing like a loop of an entire song, which I felt really self-conscious about. I felt like, hi, I am singing a song.
Kind of like karaoke on your own shit.
Exactly.
I've done it. I've been there.
It's so weird. So, I mean, I'm trying to find a way to bring those two disparate elements together. I still think sometimes when I listen to, I'll go back to punk rock, I still sometimes think that sometimes just a person and a guitar is the most punk rock thing in the world. A person and an acoustic guitar sometimes is the shit. Like, you can't beat it. You can't do better.
I mean, yeah, haven't John Darnielle and Ani proven that to us? Like, nobody's maybe more punk than Ani DeFranco or John Darnielle. And, like, for a good chunk of their career, it was just them and a fucking acoustic guitar.
Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
You said something that made my brain. Oh, I'm curious, for really my own interests, as a singer-songwriter who also for a long time shunned the world of kind of electronic music creation, or even incorporating those sounds into my own creative process. I think it's odd when I reflect on which electronic music I've been drawn to.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm curious, when you say you're drawn and you've been down kind of the electronic music journey, I mean, are we talking like full on embracing the worlds of house and techno and like even some industrial and noise things? Or are you talking more about songwriters that use the electronic elements or the synthesizers and drum machines as a tool for more traditional songwriting? You know, like I think about somebody like David Bazan, who like made this big left turn post Pedro the Lion and just did a bunch of songwriter shit that just happened to be on synthesizers and drum machines, as opposed to somebody like Prince, who is a songwriter, but it's very much about the sounds. They're part of the creative process. Mm-hmm. So what and who has been doing it for you?
The band that really got me going on it was this band that a lot of people haven't heard of. This guy, I Am X, and it's Chris Corner, who used to be in the Sneaker Pimps.
Okay.
And he started this solo project, but he performs with a full band, and his stuff just really struck a chord with me. And he's a very dramatic voice. A lot of his stuff is very dancey, but he also brings in elements of like cabaret kind of stuff. And so that was sort of the beginning. I love Cold Cave. I love really, really basic 80s-ish synthesizer type stuff, including there's this album, Close to the Noise Floor. This album is like, it's formative UK electronica. This kind of stuff. I cannot get enough of this stuff. And there's a label now called, or it's actually been around a long time, there's a label called Minimal Wave.
Okay.
It's like very spare, like super early sounding stuff. I love that stuff so much.
Awesome.
I also love techno, and I've gone to like dance things, and like I love that stuff now. I used to just think it was like boom, boom, boom. Now I'm just like, oh, it's so amazing. So yeah, that sort of stuff, and yeah, and mixing that in with other singer-songwriters, talking about like Chris Corner and his cabaret type thing. I just, for some reason, I started thinking about Baby D, who is not electronic at all, but she is an amazing singer-songwriter that's completely, off in her own direction, and she's been a big inspiration too. She's amazing.
I forget if you're friends or not. I never know what concentric circles connect. Do you and E.W. Harris know one another?
Mm.
Oh, my God. Well, you two, I feel terrible that I haven't made this connection before for you guys. E.W. Harris, who considers himself kind of a future folk songwriter, and I'll send you some links, is very much about, not only is a lot of his writing very speculative science fiction kind of writing, but he has quite an operatic voice. And he is primarily an acoustic guitar player. Yes, he plays piano. Yes, he produces fantastic albums for other people, and brings the electronic stuff. But if he had to show up and go on tour with just himself and an acoustic guitar, that is an incredibly mesmerizing performance as well. But his ability and his rig that he now brings to shows is really an impressive crossover. Between a pedal board and like kind of a table type board that has a mixer and an iPad and a Chaos pad that kind of everything runs through, like pretty cool. I'm going to connect you and EW because I think you guys could probably steal some ideas from one another. And I don't know if your musical tastes are the same, but your missions feel very similar to me. And what are your thoughts on somebody like, when I hear about somebody combining acoustic and electronic elements and being dramatic, my mind goes to John Grant pretty immediately. Do you know John Grant shit at all?
No.
I'm not going to play the Do You Know game, by the way. I'm excited about this music you're talking about. And
I don't mind the Do You Know game, and I don't mind not knowing who somebody is. I'm totally fine with that. I'm happy to look it up and learn.
John Grant is a songwriter, put out a handful of albums in the last 10 years. Incredibly dramatic baritone voice. And really like synth stuff and orchestral stuff, and sometimes kind of straight ahead English guitar pop stuff. But John Grant, check him out. But go ahead. Your turn. Go.
On the folk side, but and dramatic in a totally different way. One of the people I've been loving so much in the last couple of years, Richard Dawson. Do you know Richard Dawson? Nobody knows who this guy is in the United States.
Didn't he host the Family Feud?
Not that Richard Dawson. He's a Northern English songwriter. He's got an incredibly thick accent. He writes these really long, intensive songs. A lot of times it's just him and guitar, but he's played with a whole band. And he has a side project called Hen Ogled that is partially electronic, but with all these sort of other folk musicians playing electronic music in Northern England.
Nice. I'm looking it up. I'm writing these things down as we speak. I'm excited to hear them. Oh, he's like a chubby bearded guy too. I'm all about him already. I haven't even heard his fucking music yet, and I'm all about him.
He's amazing.
Cool. I'm excited now.
He's so good.
All right, cool. I'm going to check that out. Awesome. Thank you for the share. I'm always down. Always looking for more music to listen to. And speaking of what I was listening to, over the last week, I've been listening to the 83 EP a whole bunch. I've been really, really deeply enjoying it. Now that you tell me that you really enjoy this kind of spare electronic sound, it makes a lot more things kind of click for me. when you were talking before, you talked a little bit more about the conception of this EP during the EP writing week earlier in 2020, and you eventually released it in July of 2020. Let me show everybody what it looks like right now. So if they go looking for it, they know exactly what they're looking for. Now you can listen to Elisa's shit wherever you want to if you're a music listener online, but really the place where you should be listening to anybody's stuff online is over at Bandcamp, because that's where the largest cut of revenue goes directly to artists. So over at elisaflynn.bandcamp.com, and the link will be on the screen in a minute, you can check out, it'll land you right at her new EP, 83, and that's where she played the song Magic from a few minutes ago. I was hoping that maybe you could talk for just a minute about, since you had to or chose to divorce yourself from the guitar as a writing tool, what else about your process as a songwriter had to change in order to adapt itself to this more keyboard or electronic based world?
I had to let myself do things. I had to do things that I wouldn't normally do on guitar. You know, I'm used to writing on guitar, and though I try to write different kinds of things, they are structured physically and mentally a certain way. So to write that EP, I had to let it all go, and I actually had notes, and it was just right off the top of your head, just sit down and play. And I just literally had to sit down really quickly and dash off things, and I just started recording immediately. I recorded before I knew what the songs were. You know, I just started playing, and I'd play a minute, and then I'd go back and listen to it, and then I'd add to it and improv on it. So it was sort of like, it was like a sculpture. I was making song sculptures. So that was completely different. And to let myself write lyrics that quickly, because I do slave over lyrics. You know, I will write something and then I'll craft it. You know, I spend so much time because I don't want to sound cliched. I don't want to sound like another song. But this was just it was all about speed and sculpture, basically, which was weird and different. And Magic, I wrote Magic because I was write something funny, which I don't usually write something funny or happy, you know, and it's sort of it's a funny song about the end of the world, you know, about the pandemic.
Yeah.
But I wanted to write something that sort of sounded more upbeat.
That's fair.
Yeah. And there's also one song on there that has no words. I couldn't come up with them, and I just said the heck with it. You know, I've never ever put out a song that was instrumental, and I've got one instrumental song on there.
Oh, I was wondering about that, and it's interesting to know that it might have tried to have words at some point.
Yeah, it tried. It just didn't work, and I was but that's okay. I just have to let it go because I didn't have any more time, and it was fine. The deadline was coming up.
So is improvisation usually part of your writing process, or no, not at all?
Well, not really. I mean, my writing process on the guitar is usually noodling. I will sit on the couch and noodle and noodle and noodle. And then if I come up with something I like, I'll write it down. And I'll have this little blip, this little, you know, section of a song, and then I'll work off it. But it's kind of, I don't know how, you probably write similarly. I mean, once you write guitar songs for a long time, you know, there's sections, and, you know how to build the sections of the song. It's so that other way is much more improvisational than the normal.
Okay. Way. Now, you also talked about it in terms of sculpture.
Yeah.
Now, you're a legit visual artist. I am not. I dabble in watercolors and cartooning, but I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. I know that you are great with a pen and ink. Are you a sculptor at all? Or was that a new, oh, interesting.
Well, I have not recently, but one of my favorite art practices is woodcuts, and woodcuts really are sculptures in order to make prints, because you're carving, you're making a three-dimensional object to produce a two-dimensional object. So
Right.
kind of, yes, but I've never I don't make I don't build sculptures or anything.
I mean, that's a stupidly expensive endeavor. Like sculpting is I feel like really super privileged in the art world. Like if you can afford to have the space and the fucking goods to be a sculptor, wow, you've already impressed the right people. That's interesting. I'm always excited to talk to people that are visual artists as well, because it's something that I like to do, but deeply don't understand. Like I don't understand the compositional process of things visually. Like I know how fucking music's put together. I got that shit on lock. Like I've lived it. I went to school for it. I teach it. Yeah. But I look at a painting and I'm like, I like that. There are bright colors and dark colors. That's good to me. I mean, my brother-in-law is a professional photographer and an art photographer, and he's taught me a little bit about framing and composition on that. But beyond that, I'm like, I'm going to draw a thing and it's going to be center framed and it's going to look like, so maybe I just need to study your music more and I'll understand more about.
I don't know.
I'll let you know how that goes. Speaking of your more music and more and more music, do you want to play some more music for us? I would really love that.
Oh, that's fantastic, Chris. I would like to play another song. I like to play another song. This song is not on anything. This is actually like one of the two other songs I wrote in the last year, other than
cool. I'm excited to hear a new one.
All right, so
let me get out of your way. Wait. I'm gonna get off this damn screen and give it all to you. It's your spot, dude.
Okay, this is the first time performed for others. It's called Wet, I think. I sweat out the fear. I break down. I see the signs. They're all around now. Your thick hands, they tell me things I wouldn't have known before I felt their sting. Baby, they are a mystery to me and you. There's so much holding up my mind. It's filled with the filth that you're stuck inside. But this filth is mine now. I pull it towards me and smooth it all around to make the levee. Maybe this world will leave me, spit me out again. Then maybe I'll chew it up, or I'll swallow it whole. Though it's so hard to get it all down. I'm a glorious queen, despite the fight in your eyes. keep one hand free to knock out your lights. I know you never had any love, any love for me. One more moment here, just one more day. I'll unwrap you from me to keep myself safe. If I can stand up and walk out that door, if I can take on the world alone again, would you give me more? I'll burn with the fire that'll liquefy me. There we go. First time. Live.
Do you have at least like a demo or something of that song?
No.
Can you make one?
Yes.
I want to fuck with that song a little bit.
Oh, okay.
I want to mess around with some arrangement ideas.
Oh, okay, cool.
I was hearing things.
Oh.
Really cool. Absolutely gorgeous.
Oh, thank you so much.
That's awesome, man. Even if you wrote just that song this year, you're in pretty good shape. That's really a good one. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. Thank you for having me play some songs. It's very weird. I got to say, it's weird to play into the computer. It's very strange. And both you and I had interface issues. Like I have my microphone thing that I plug in and it didn't work, and it was going, so I couldn't use that. So.
Yeah, the only thing we know about tech is that it fails.
Yeah. And
the performing to a computer thing, yeah, it's weird as fuck. It takes a while to get used to. But I've been doing this for a minute. Hey, Jim Nabel really liked that song.
Thanks, Jim.
Jim Nabel knows from songs.
He does.
Jim was on the show back in October. He was promoting an album about election songs. It was very timely and very awesome. So I do want to make a point of, before we do anything else, letting people know that it's not just on my Tuesday night show that they can see your shit. As a matter of fact, if they would like to follow you at the places that people follow you, all of those things on the screen. You know, you got Elisa over at Instagram. You got Facebook.com/Elisa Flynn Music, which is what we're hearing. And we got Super Elisa at the Twitter. If you want the official info, you can, of course, find at elisaflynn.com info about her art and about her music and her goings-on. I got to ask, Elisa, is there anything in particular that you want the world to know about that you have going on or coming up, aside from just listening to your music and spending money on it?
Well, I currently don't have any shows booked. I would like to be doing that. That is something I'm going to start doing soon. And I have a bunch of music that I have some stuff that I'm working on that I will eventually release. I'll do another EP. I may do 2 EPs. I also, actually last year, I did a couple of videos of my sort of secondary persona I decided to have, called DJ Anubeth, and that's just me playing with a mixer. So I did I did a couple of those. I got started doing that because do you know Post Musique?
Say it again. Post Musique? No.
Post Musique. It's a Brooklyn sort of ambient electronic band / collective, and their main guy put together this show or this series on YouTube of people playing 15-minute or less ambient pieces, ambient chaos series, and so I did a piece for that. So I might do some more of that as well.
Okay, I'm looking at your DJ and your Beth stuff right now, and I'm tempted to play it for the world. But maybe I will, maybe I won't. But I'm excited that you have a 404, and I'd love to talk more about that because that is definitely on my gear that I would like to purchase and play around with list. Because it just looks like it does so much.
It does. It's an update of an older technology. It's really fun. It's a really fun toy. The reason I bought it was you can load an entire song in there and just press play and you have a full backing track, or you can play live on it.
Right.
So
awesome.
It's very fun. I haven't explored it yet nearly enough. There's so much.
Well, there's always time. All we got is time. Well,
yeah.
That got real.
Do we have time for you to play another song, Chris?
I don't know. I got to teach in the morning. I play it. Is there anything special you want to hear? I mean, like, you name it, I'll play it. But,
nothing off the top of my head.
Oh, yeah, good. Sounds good. I like that one too. That's one of my best. People request that I play that one all the time. Nothing. I'm good at that one. But nothing else matters. That's a different song. Although I recently listened to a Macy Gray version of Nothing Else Matters that was recorded binaurally in a Brooklyn church with a jazz trio. I don't know. I'm going to stop talking now because my brain just stopped working. All right. I don't think I'm going to play another one tonight.
Okay.
I'm just not there. My voice is kind of beat. Halfway through the teaching week, it gets ugly. I have a show this weekend that I need my voice for.
Wait, where's your show?
My R&B country blues trio, the Coolest Ranch, is playing at the most Brooklyn of all Brooklyn places this weekend. You ready for this? We are playing out back of a board game coffee shop in Greenpoint. Yeah, there's
this place.
How fucking Brooklyn is that?
That is very Brooklyn. Oh, well, you could have played at the mayonnaise store, but that place doesn't exist anymore.
Oh,
that was my favorite.
We missed a shot.
Homemade mayonnaise store on Vanderbilt Avenue that doesn't exist anymore. That was the pinnacle.
On Vanderbilt, no less.
Yeah.
There's a joint in Greenpoint called The Last Place on Earth. It's a cafe / board. I said video game and board game. It's a cafe / board game shop. They have some outdoor space right next to / behind it, and they've decided on spring Saturdays that they're going to start hosting movie nights and live music events. So we have been invited to play some of our crowd-pleasing music on a Saturday afternoon. So that's what we're up to. But I hope that we're hearing about shows from you super soon. I want to remind people for the 11th time to head over to elisaflynn.com and elisaflynn.bandcamp.com and spend money on all of the music.
Especially, though, I'm most active on Instagram. And my regular website, elisaflynn.com, totally fell to bits for multiple reasons. So I just started refilling it. So right now it's very minuscule, but it'll get bigger. But right now it's like I lost everything from it, and I have to rebuild it. I'm on the Instagram.
We'll make it big. As a matter of fact, you know what we can even do? We can make it, wait for it. We can make it scroll across the screen because that's a fun thing to do. You ready?
Yeah.
Oh, it didn't do it. There you go. Look at that. Oh, it's all little. It's all little. I don't like it like that. I like it better when you see it big so people know exactly what to do and where to follow. So, yeah, we're going to follow her on the Instagram. Speaking of following, if you came here because you know me and you come watch my show every week, please make sure that you are giving Elisa a follow. And if you came here because you know Elisa, whether you're watching this on the YouTubes or the Facebooks or even the fucking Twitch, what am I, a gamer over here? I know. Give me a follow because I'm here every Tuesday night. I have Matthew Pop of love.gov coming up next week to talk about his new remote recording project and new album that they have coming out very soon. But in the meantime, Elisa, is there anything the world needs to know? Any message you want to put out into the universe before we disappear into the ether?
My message is, wow. Support live music. When it comes back, support live music. It is the ultimate.
It is the most punk rock thing there is.
It is.
All right. So thank you very much to my guest, Elisa Flynn. I'm Chris Q. Murphy. This is the Tuesday Night Live stream. And hopefully we will see you guys back here next week. I pressed the wrong button. It didn't segue as cool as I thought it was going to be. Let's try that one more time. And there we go.